Swadika, good evening, and we hope you have had a great weekend and productive Monday so far. Of course, welcome to this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. You are with Nat Bunak and Hatai Deshakit Hiranan.
Swadika, very good evening as well, and we'll begin the program tonight with the latest on the COVID-19 situation in Thailand, particularly with the discovery of the suspected case of the Omicron XJ strain in the country after it actually reported the first case of Omicron XE on Sunday. So the Medical Sciences Department announced the discovery of a suspected case of the Omicron XJ variant in a Thai delivery man and is awaiting confirmation for more analysis and additional information. So the department chief, Dr. Supakit Surilak, said that the case is definitely not an Omicron XE as earlier reported, but its genetic makeup is close to that of the XJ variant, which was first detected in Finland. And due to the nature of his work, which has exposed him to being in close contact with a lot of people, he said that the delivery man may have contracted the mutated or the hybrid variant, leading to the recombining of different variants. The patient in question, who was inoculated with Sinopharm, was diagnosed at a hospital on February 22nd, and specimens of the virus were sent to the Medical Sciences Department to determine the genetic codes. According to information from the World Health Organization, the XE variant is 10% more transmissible than the BA.2 strain. However, there is still limited information about its ability to evade immune response or about its severity. And currently, the Omicron variant now represents about 99.8% of all new COVID-19 cases in Thailand. And of these, 92% are of the BA.2 subvariant. The diagnosis of 1,933 cases conducted by the Medical Sciences Department from March 26th until April 1st shows only 3 Delta cases, which accounts for only 0.16%. So it is obvious that the dominant strain right now is the Omicron variant, but there are a lot of subvariants that are found among these new infections. So we will have to wait and see about this case, whether it's actually the XJ strain or not.
Exactly. And as you can see, viruses, especially this coronavirus, is mutating constantly, and then we have to actually keep up with that, even though according to the Medical Sciences Department, this is not actually that big of a concern at the moment, because basically it is what viruses do when there's still little study being conducted right now about the severity and also whether the capacity to evade the vaccines as well. Of course, as you said, Nat, we have to wait and see, but one thing is for sure is not to put our guards down. And still staying with the topic of COVID-19, the Health Minister Anutin Chandragoorin has actually come out to reassure the people that the authorities can still manage the pandemic, especially in light of the upcoming Songkran festival. And I'm sure a lot of us are actually waiting for this anticipated annual festivities that we celebrate, which is only 1.5 weeks to go. So Public Health Minister Anutin Chandragoorin said today he is confident that the COVID-19 infections, which are anticipated to surge during and after the long Songkran break, will be kept under control thanks to the mass vaccination. He said the Ministry of Public Health is, however, concerned about the many elderly people and children under 5 years old who are not yet inoculated, and he has been urging them to get vaccinated before Songkran this month. He also advised parents not to take their young children to hospitals because hospitals, of course, contain patients suffering from various diseases, and a number of children have been found to be infected with COVID after visits to the hospital. So he offered the public an assurance, however, that vaccines are safe and can reduce the risk of death or severe sickness if infected. The public health minister reiterated that the splashing of water and doping of powder are forbidden still during the Songkran again this year, which means it's going to be just dry Songkran. And the practices involve close contact, and the sharing of bowls to contain the water is also prohibited. He said, although enjoying or celebrating Songkran in the traditional sense without the splashing of the water or even touching each other is permitted. And Anutin also insisted the idea of reclassifying COVID-19 as an endemic disease, tentatively set from July onwards, was initiated by medical experts. And the government agrees because it would be beneficial, even though there is a risk of a surge in infections. With proper treatment and medical facilities to accommodate patients, he said it is worth taking the risk, as he stressed the need to overcome the fear associated with the disease.
So it is very likely that the COVID-19 infections will increase during and after the Songkran break, because apart from the festivities, it is inevitable for certain people to travel from Bangkok to their home provinces or vice versa. So it is expected that it might surge as well. But even though the Ministry of Public Health has reassured that they can control the whole situation, like you said, Kunatai, we still have to keep our guards up.
Exactly.
And still related to COVID-19, the number of international arrivals have increased recently after the requirement where travelers must get a negative RT-PCR test before departure was canceled last Friday. Suvarnabhumi Airport saw a large increase in international arrivals yesterday, as those traveling to the country no longer need a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR test before their departure. So the airport was filled with international arrivals on a Sunday afternoon, which was a bustling atmosphere that has not been seen since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020, with many of the airport officials and hotel representatives greeting them for RT-PCR tests upon arrival. And since the cancellation of the pre-arrival RT-PCR test requirement, the number of arrivals have nearly doubled to 12,000 passengers per day. At the same time, the number of inbound flights has also increased. Thai PBS reporters spoke to one of the airport staff who said that the RT-PCR test results are now available in 3 to 4 hours. This means many arrivals may not have to stay overnight at a hotel to wait for the results, which may encourage more people to travel into Thailand. And to give you a bit of a recap, since April 1st, those arriving in Thailand, whether it's under the Test and Go scheme, Sandbox scheme, or other quarantine programs, no longer need a negative COVID-19 RT-PCR test certificate issued within 72 hours prior to departure.
But the arrivals from abroad still need to take the RT-PCR test upon arrival and must stay in their pre-booked hotels until a negative result is available, which is usually for one night. They're also required to take a self-administered rapid antigen test, or ATK, on the day 5th. After arrival. If the tests are positive, of course, they will have to be treated.
So it seems like the doing away of the RT-PCR test before departure has encouraged many of the arrivals to come into Thailand, because many people have been criticizing the fact that it's really complicated, and people just don't seem to understand the necessity of having the pre-COVID-19 test before coming to Thailand. And with the 5th day of arrival, it's already complicated for them already.
Well, on the other side of the argument, Nat, some people may think that this is probably not that big of a difference from still requiring this test upon arrival, because actually a lot of airlines would still require you to do so, and some people might just want to be reassured about the safety when they board a plane.
Right.
Yeah, so this is something to be debated on, but of course is a step, even though it's a bit tiny, is a step towards, a gradual easing of restrictions.
Right.
And I'm turning now to politics. And as you can see, all over the streets of Bangkok, there are now a lot of signs, a lot of banners promoting each candidate for the Bangkok governor election, which is upcoming for next month, and it will be the first time in 9 years. And of course, everyone seems excited, not just us who may be the voters, but also the candidates themselves, because there have been up to 29 candidates so far. Actually, this is even a much higher number than anticipated, a number of 25. So 29 have registered to contest in the Bangkok gubernatorial election, which is set for May 22nd as of yesterday, which was Sunday. And today is the last day of the 5-day period for candidacy registrations. And according to the BMA, or Bangkok City Hall, the 28th and 29th are the last two candidates as of yesterday are the new registrants, Sarah Woodbentagun, who's the former Secretary General of the Judicial Affairs Office and running as an independent, as well as Chai Payom Yam of the Thai Citizen Party. And 10 people also applied yesterday to contest city councillor elections in 50 districts of Bangkok, bringing the total number of the candidates for councillor as of yesterday to 369. So bear in mind the seats available are only 50. So this means that it is really quite a big number, and the contest will be quite kind of competitive and neck and neck indeed. And registration for both the Bangkok governor and city councillor candidates closed already at 4:30 p.m. today, after which the election officials will check their qualifications and then announce the names of those who may contest the polls. And those who fail the qualification screening are entitled to appeal to the Bangkok Election Committee. So it's quite interesting, Kunat. It doesn't mean that these figures are final, because as mentioned, the authorities will have to check their qualifications once more before allowing them to really run in the election. And as I mentioned before, Kunat, about all the banners on the streets is quite interesting in itself, because it's not just how we see the candidates well, not face-to-face, but we see that pictures, big ones indeed. Yeah. But it also points to another important issue, and we have already covered extensively on pavements for pedestrians, because there seems to be a lot of obstacles, barriers on the pavements, not really designed for the pedestrians themselves. And so whenever candidates are being considered or not, that is also quite a big issue to be discussed, as if, is this the right candidate who's considerate in not making their banners obstructing the pavement.
So in other words, don't just think of the competition, just think about the pedestrians as well, because if you do care about being the Bangkok governor, you're supposed to care about their livelihoods to begin with. And these are the issues that have never been fixed to begin with.
Right.
And we'll end the program on a lighter note. A leopard has been caught on a camera trap in Thailand's Chiang Wildlife Sanctuary. So a leopard has been recorded by a camera trap for the first time in the Chiang Wildlife Sanctuary of Chiang Mai province, and this is according to the Facebook page of Thailand's Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. The post that was published this morning stated that to date, only the footprints of the endangered species have been found in the sanctuary, adding that the recording of the big cat by the camera trap shows the richness of the biodiversity in the forest. So as you can see in the 10-second video, it shows that the leopard was walking past the hidden camera at night as it apparently searched for food. In case you're not aware, leopards are actually listed as threatened species by the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the IUCN. And around 7,500 individuals live in the wild in many parts of the world, according to the IUCN in 2020. As for the Chiang Wildlife Sanctuary, was established in August 1978, and it covers around 521 square kilometers of the Doi Chiang Dao area. And the sanctuary is actually covered by various types of forest, which changes by altitude. And of course, it is also home to a number of endangered species. So seeing this video can be some sort of relief, because there are still endangered species in Thailand and they're still being well treated.
Exactly. And of course, we have heard, we've seen reports about recovered nature, so to say, and even spotting of rare species, especially during the COVID times with the lack of tourists and everything. So, of course, this is one of the brighter side of things, and that, of course, the conservation efforts have to continue.
Right.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Thai PBS World Tonight. Do catch us like this every weekday at 7 p.m. right here on YouTube and Facebook Live.
And don't forget to follow us on social media, including our website, thaipbsworld.com, for all the latest updates as well as analyses. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ